Hello. In response to this new bill that's being introduced to ban all gas-operated firearms, I think it's time that I create a video to help dispel some of these things. And my camera's kind of off the center of the screen, so I'll be looking kind of off a little bit. I want to start off by saying that I'm a 7-year Army National Guard veteran. I served during the War on Terror. I did not deploy anywhere. The highlight of my military service was 3 weeks in Germany. It left an impact on me that for the rest of my life I will probably always watch out for inanimate objects, like the pressure cooker situation that happened in Boston, because that's what I was taught while I was in the military. And to understand how to utilize firearms safely. Extensive training that I maintain I sometimes participate in competition shooting, concealed carry training. I try to study the active shooter situations in the news. Nashville, what happened in Las Vegas, even older situations as the Miami-Dade shooting in 1985 that the FBI later created the 40 cal and the 10 millimeter in response to what had happened there. The first instance that I became aware of this was way back in 99 with Columbine when I was in middle school. So this is something that's been lifelong for me. And also help dispel things under the guise of the mental health crisis we have. I have a family member who suffers from bipolar and is under doctor's care. And I have another family member who is a Vietnam veteran who was hit with Agent Orange. He has to be opened up every couple of years in his front to have cancer removed. So I have firsthand experience to some degree of dealing with mental illness, and that's a really big issue we need to address over taking firearms from people. So the part that I would really like to dispel is this thing called weapons of war. I have 4 rifles here I would like to show you and walk you through. So no harm to anyone, no threats, nothing. Just an Army veteran that, wants to help dispel things. First up is the hot topic, the AR-15. Now, to demonstrate, it is clear and it is now unsafe. So everyone wants to say that this is this is the evil one, that it could really harm people, that we need to ban these. The reason that the desire of people to take these from us is not about public safety. The information that has been provided by Research Institute is that less than 1% of mass shootings of all gun deaths per year are related to this. So out of the 30 to 31,000 people who have died by a firearm in 2022 and 2023 was from this. 99% were from handguns. Of that 30 to 31,000, 2/3, or approximately 20,000, was self-inflicted suicides. Also understand that I've studied the data, look at Australia after the 1996 ban. There really has not been a change on murder. It's not the tool, it is the ill intent, malicious intent of people. We could take this away and people will go to swords and knives. It happens all over the rest of the world where there is high gun control. Russia, China, Japan. I mean, come on, look at the examples in the UK of people blowing up trains in London. Or in France, where they run people over with rental trucks. Or look at what happened with Timothy McVeigh in the response to Waco, Texas, where he killed 168 people at a building in Oklahoma with fertilizer and a rental truck. That's way more dangerous than this. This is a tool of our liberty, our freedom, to stop tyranny. The efforts to ban these is to stop us from being able to defend ourselves. So this is a semi-automatic only rifle, modeled after a military rifle. This is an Armalite SPR Mod 1 with a heavier barrel, intended that this rifle could sustain fully automatic fire provided it had the military trigger group. This is not a weapon of war because this is, by law, a semi-automatic only rifle. If you want to consider this platform as a weapon of war, It would have to have fully automatic fire, as the M16A1 and M16A4 had, or semi-automatic and 3-round burst, as you know, I'm only restricted to semi-automatic, as the M16A2, M16A3, and M4. Now, the next rifle I'd like to show you is another one, even more popular around the world, that is considered another one, the AK-47 Kalashnikov. This guy, and I will show you as well, forgive me, a little offhanded here, this guy is clear and safe as well, and on safe. You have to take it off of safe to show that it's clear. So this guy is even on a national flag in Africa. And that's how prominent this is around the world. You would think this AK-47 is a weapon of war. Because this one is also restricted to semi-automatic fire, it is not. So the third rifle I'd like to show you is a Yugoslavian SKS. This has markings on it, you know, here on the barrel, on the side of it. You probably can't see it too well. This was actually imported from Yugoslavia before the ban in '94. From what I can tell in the serial number, it was produced sometime in the 80s. So you might think, well, okay, you know, this guy is clear, and I can put a detachable magazine on it. You would think this is a weapon of war, especially with this bayonet, and this one is also special with the ability to turn the gas port off and launch a grenade that is mounted on the end of the barrel. You would think that this rifle would be a weapon of war, even though it doesn't have the scary looking stock on it. Again, that's wrong. You want to know what a real weapon of war is? It's a firearm that's actually been in war. And I have one here. So, my father's, I'm storing it for him because, oops, you know, family member who has some issues that are being addressed under a medical professional. This rifle is an M1895 Austrian Steyr Mauser, meaning that it was produced in Austria, which is over next to Germany, for some folks who don't know. This rifle was brought over by a member of family of my grandmother, my mother's mother, was brought over by someone in a family member that she married. This was brought over as a spoil of war in World War II from Nazi Germany. So this rifle, it is a simple, and I have to take this off a safe, and I have to cock it because that is the technology of this rifle. It is also a straight pull, which predates the rotating bolt technology of the Armalite 15 by approximately 70 years. See, this rifle is clear. Straight bolt action, bolt action rifle. 5-shot internal permanent capacity. So this rifle was held onto by the Nazis, probably in both world wars, where it started out life as an 8x50 millimeter, rebored to an 8x51, and then rebored again during World War II to an 8x57, the cartridge we know as an 8mm Mauser. This rifle potentially could have been used in action to actually harm people in a time of war. This 5-shot bolt-action rifle is a weapon of war. This civilian-built AR-15 that is a replica of a Special Forces rifle with everything except the trigger group is not a weapon of war. This is a civilian firearm. This is utilized for self-defense, for small game hunting in a lot of states where 223 is not legal to take a deer. This is our best tool to fight off tyranny, to keep us free. That's why that's why there's people that want to ban that. So when you have the actual weapon of war that was brought back from an actual war zone through proper U.S. military channels and U.S. government channels, this completely dispels everything that they talk about with a weapon of war. So I really hope that helps to explain some things and for folks to understand my background, where I come from, as I speak to this. All this stuff with trying to ban firearms, problems out in society, we need to have a conversation about malice intent, ill will, people doing bad by others. That's what we need to talk about. We need to hold those people accountable. I looked into the situation with MSU because I am a resident of Michigan. And I looked into that situation where this guy was trespassing. He didn't have a license to carry, and he was carrying a firearm. A police officer found him on this property smoking a cigarette, and instead of telling him to move on, as a black man, he searched him. Don't know the context, but from the reports, it sounds like it was a violation of his Fourth Amendment with illegal search and seizure. Then he was paraded through the court system where the prosecutor played down the charges, as we would all want. You get a traffic ticket, you want to play it down. Played down things that were going on. And then this guy started to have a rough time with his life. The pandemic happened, job losses, socially, the guy wasn't the best. It's okay. He committed the egregious act that killed 3 people and harmed others in MSU because he went through this crap. And it's like, you probably violated his rights to begin with instead of just telling him to move along. If I was there, just because of the color of my skin, odds are the police officer would have said, dude, get off the property. So is there a prejudice problem in that situation? And then we have the other shooting that happened here in Michigan with Oakland, with the student that he had some issues going on, and his parents provided him access to a firearm. He was too young to purchase, even at 18 years old, a bolt-action rifle. He was still a school-age kid. So he was given access, and that's why the parents are being charged. And that's a questionable thing as well, but I really think that, we got to hold people accountable when they commit crimes, not play catch and release, not perpetuate these things by we see members of our representatives fighting with each other verbally, and they're attacking each other. As an Army veteran, dude, lead by example. If we elected you to be in office, you need to conduct yourself better. You are a part of the problem. And trying to pass gun control is not the solution. And as far as everything with self-defense goes, I have been shot at before my military service. I have been threatened with a knife. I have been on the receiving end of what could be termed gang violence when I was a child that lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I was close enough to see the skyscrapers of downtown and within a few miles of the Philadelphia airport. And I really believe that my parents wanted to leave Philadelphia and move to the Great Lakes area because they were worried about who I'd become, and it's just a small part of that decision. So I really think that as a country, in trying to keep religion and politics out of as much as possible, we've just lost our way. We just need to treat each other better. Take care of each other. And we could stop a lot of this. We need to address the mental health issues. What's going on that's creating these. We really need to get at the root cause. Because when you look at things like these different events, Sandy Hook, Columbine, Nashville, the other one that happened this year, I think it was Knoxville, Tennessee with a bank, Las Vegas, even the other one that killed 49 people at a club in Florida. In one form or another, it was mental illness. What if this guy that perpetuated this one in Knoxville, Tennessee, at the bank, what if he was into swords instead of firearms? We would have never known about it in the news because it doesn't follow the narrative. So, also consider that, if we had the alternative of swords and knives, how high of a regard that samurai and knights had to be held to because they themselves were the weapon. You could have a knight go through a crowd of 30 people probably just as fast as you could do it with an AR-15. You know, someone that's trained to the highest degree. You know, there's been news stories in Japan of someone went akimbo through a train with 2 knives and they just stabbed a bunch of people and injured 19 because they were all crowded into a subway car. It's called a target-rich environment. And, you know, so it does not matter the tools we have available at us. I mean, I've said for a long time, you could take the guns and people will slaughter each other with knives and swords because of malice, ill intent. We could outlaw every pointy object in the land, you know, knives, forks even, and we could get to the point where people will go back to the process of like caveman. Just bonk the crap out of each other with swords and with rocks and sticks. What are we going to do? Outlaw every rock and stick in the land? We would have no trees. And I mean, come on, you know, when you throw religion into it, what about the Crusades and what's going on in the Middle East right now? Like Palestine and Israel, because of a difference in ideology. That all falls right down to ill intent and malice. That those folks over there, you know, on the other side of the world, they just want to kill each other because they think differently than you and I do. That's the problem. That's what we need to address. We don't need to address this or this. We need to address the ill intent, the ill will. That's what we need to address and take care of. So thank you for taking the time to view this. It's in no way, shape, or form to try and get into YouTube. I'm just a concerned Army veteran that is trying to dispel some myths and mistruths. So thank you for your time. I hope you have a good rest of the day. And keep your eyes 360. That's a pretty good way to do self-defense.